Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, then hello, my name is Aakash. I'm a chartered accountancy student, and in this video, I'll talk about revision timetables. Isn't that interesting? Like back when I was in high school, I used to follow the standard prospective revision timetable, which included just planning out 6 weeks in advance that I'll study this on this particular day. But from the past 2 months or so, I've switched to the patented retrospective revision timetable and I never looked back. This video will be split up into three parts. Firstly, I'll talk about what a standard prospective revision timetable looks like for most of the people and what are some of the problems I faced while executing it. Second, I'll talk about the idea of the retrospective revision timetable, and thirdly, I'll show you my own retrospective revision timetable spreadsheet which I made in Google Sheets. So let's get started. So prospective means looking forward and retrospective means looking backward, and a prospective revision timetable includes just planning out every single bit you'll be studying for the next few days. But there are some problems which I faced while executing it. First, that it forces you to prophesize and predict the future, which we humans are not very good at. And even when we just plan out everything, we don't usually consider the supervening impossibilities, like something just comes up or we have to go out with family and friends. We don't usually consider that in our prospective revision timetables, and if something comes up, you're screwed the very next day and the domino effect goes on. Simply, it doesn't provide any flexibility whatsoever. Secondly, it forces you to think of revision as a function of time rather than a function of topics. Like, for example, if we study say this on the first day, we study the next day some other chapter, and we plan that on the next day we're going to study this. But what about the thing you studied on the first day? Like, were you good at it? If you weren't, you're most probably not going to study that ever again, and in the exam you're not going to perform well. So it's a very inefficient way of revising. And lastly, one of the biggest problems about this is making the timetable itself. Like, I vaguely remember that when I was in my high school, I had to prepare one prospective revision timetable because at that time I used to follow this, and I procrastinated it for like a week, and I didn't study that week at all. So I wasted a week. But instead, if I had prepared a retrospective revision timetable, I would have efficiently used my time. And when I'll explain the retrospective revision timetable, you'll understand. You'll connect the dots, and it actually needs a new name, the retrospective revision timetable. So yeah. So these are the things I used to face problems at, and I think everyone faces all these problems. And this is where the retrospective revision timetable comes into handy. And now let's talk about the retrospective revision timetable, which I'm a huge fan of since the time I started using it. So it basically means not looking into the future, but making a revision timetable based on your weaknesses in each topic or subject or chapter. Let me show you how. For example, let's say that you're studying business law. I'm taking my subject to plan this out. So let's assume that we're studying business law, and first let's just make a vague timetable. So this is what a retrospective revision timetable looks like. So for example, let's fill in some random dates. For example, I studied Sale of Goods Act on 1st April. I'll write it 1st April. Then say on the next day, I started revising Indian Partnership Act. Then the next day, I studied Indian Contract Act. So here I see that I revised the Sale of Goods Act on 1st April, and it's been some days since I revised it, so let's revise it again. And when I revised it, I found out that I'm not really good at it. I can answer some questions but not all of them, so I'm just gonna color it in yellow. It's the famous traffic light color coding method, which is simple to understand. Okay, so let's say after that I tried revising Indian Contract Act next day, and I was really good at it, so I'll color it in green. And the next day, I studied Negotiable Instruments Act, but I wasn't really good at it. I couldn't answer anything, so yeah, it's a red. Now, let's fill in some random dates. Now, here we can see that I'm good at Indian Contract Act because it's a green. I'm good at Indian Partnership Act because it's a green. So I don't have to put much time in them. My weakest parts here are LLP Act and Negotiable Instruments Act. So I'll put more time on them. So let's say the next day I revised LLP Act. And I got some answers right. So yeah, let's color it in yellow. And the next day I tried doing Negotiable Instruments Act. And again, I got yellow in it. Then next day I tried on 15th, I did Indian Contract Act again. I was again good at it. So yeah, this. And lastly, let's fill in some random dates again. So here, this is what a retrospective revision timetable looks like. So as you can see that I revised the stuff based on how good I am at that particular topic. If I was good at Indian Contract Act, I didn't put much time in it because that was just a waste of time. But instead, if I had put, say, I'll study Indian Contract Act on 1st, then I'll study on 6th this, but then again I'll study on 7th this one, again after 1 week, say on 14th, then again 21st. But there's no point of just rereading and re-revising stuff which I'm already good at. Instead, I put time on the topics, on the subjects, on the chapters which I wasn't very good at, the LLP Act and Negotiable Instrument Act, and in the end I got all of them green, which shows that I'm good at all of them now. So this is the brief idea. This is the brief structure of how a retrospective revision timetable looks like. Now, the reason why I love this is because it doesn't force you to look into the future and plan everything out in advance, which consequently provides you flexibility, as if some supervening impossibility comes, you can just simply reschedule your stuff and keep going. Secondly, it helps you to focus more on the topics you're weak at rather than just going over stuff you already know, as we just discussed above, the traffic light method of color coding, And lastly, it doesn't require much time to make. Like, you just did the stuff, simply put it into the calendar, and it doesn't act as a tool for potential procrastination. Now, let me show you my personal retrospective revision timetable, which I followed to crack CA Foundation exams for September attempt. I'm still not sure I cracked them, but yeah, let's see. So here's my revision timetable which I made. So I practiced, I firstly revised all these chapters as mentioned in these dates, and in the bracket I used to write all the questions or topics which I got stuck at, and you can see that I revised, say, NPO 3 times because I knew that I was bad at it. Then you can see that I revised final accounts 2 times. Actually 3-4 times, but yeah, that's fine. Next, I revised bills of exchange 3 times, and in the end I just got 1 question wrong. I got all of them right, and this way I practiced all of the questions which I was bad at. Now the same goes for all the other subjects. Say economics, I studied macroeconomics on these dates. I did the MCQs on these dates, and I used to code it like I was bad at it. I was good or green, which means I'm good at it. I never revised them again, and these chapters I left. So yeah, my exam didn't go that good. And next, for my maths, again the same things. I used to write the things I'm bad at in the column, that these are the things I have to focus the most, or else I'm screwed. Now all these revision timetables except the accounting one are incomplete because this one looks kind of complete, but not the other ones because I couldn't make them. I started late, but yeah, hopefully in intermediate I could make some fancy ass retrospective revision timetables and make another proper video on this. But till then, I guess this is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was helpful. This is my first time making a video which is actually not scripted. Let me show you. If you see that this is the only stuff I prepared, I'm talking without preparing anything. So yeah, let's say the outro. I'm this, that's it for today. If you enjoyed this, you might like to check out this vlog, which is about my preparation for CA Foundation exam week. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you aren't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Ah, God, I'm screwed.